Welcome to Your American Dream. I'm Manisha Jennings, and today we're exploring how art can build community with Adriana Groza, whose journey as an abstract artist shows that sometimes the most beautiful connections happen beyond the canvas. Welcome, Adriana. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Anisha, for inviting me to your podcast.
Thank you. So, Adriana is a very good friend, and we met at the Princeton Chamber of Commerce, and then it's been nonstop since. And she is such a wonderful person, always connecting people, and always has this bright, beautiful smile. So, tell us about your journey from Romania to US and your journey into the art world.
Thank you so much for the generous introduction, Anisha. The feeling is mutual. To answer your question, I came from Romania, from Transylvania, 20 years ago, together with my husband. And we left everyone behind and came to the United States in with a couple of suitcases full of dreams and memories and ready to forge a new life. For me, it's always been about connections. Whether I realized it or not, I am naturally an extrovert. I seek to connect with other people, and I was raised in the spirit of pragmatism. So I blossomed as an artist later in life when I realized that I need to pursue my gifts and my talents. And I was able to use my knowledge gained across the years and really apply myself to being an artist.
Amazing. So I do see the artwork behind you, and it's fabulous. And let me tell you guys, Adriana puts so much heart and soul into her work. It always shows. And she's such a wonderful person. So when you came to the US, tell
Thank
us
you.
about your experience when you left your country behind and came here. And what was it like? What was your initial reaction? What was your culture shocks or just experience?
Great question. We left really, as I described it, full of hope and without a whole lot of expectations. We had just gotten married 3 months before coming, and so it was all brand new. We were starting to build our life together, and we were seeking a home for ourselves. I can't say that initially, of course, beyond the language barriers, because even though we had both studied English in Romania, it's one thing to study it and another thing to actually apply it in everyday life. To this point, really a funny thing I'm remembering that I couldn't understand people speaking on TV unless I was watching it. I
Mhm.
couldn't turn my back around to stir in a pot or do something else. I would lose the meaning of what's being said. Or speaking on the phone, that was a very difficult thing because not seeing people, it was difficult. But those obstacles are way behind us. In terms of cultural shock, I can't remember it being a shock. I know we were hopeful and we didn't come, there's no dramatic story of leaving Romania. We were just looking for a better life, and we knew from others, from media, from movies, that this is where the better life is, or
Mhm.
one can forge it for themselves. So didn't have a whole lot of expectations. As time went by, we did realize a lot of things, and we continue to uncover differences between the American culture and the Romanian culture.
Amazing, amazing. I can tell that you had those little difficulties, unless, like, I'm sure people relate to it, but it's how we keep evolving, and that's something as immigrants we bring, that characteristic that we're able to adapt and evolve. So thank you for sharing that. So I see that your beginning part of your career, you were into project management and operations. So how did that happen, and how did that change from corporate to now you being the owner of your art studio?
Yes, quite the journey. While I was consistently throughout life interested and attracted to beautiful things and textures and art, I was raised in the spirit of being pragmatic. My parents did encourage sporadic interests in the arts, and they did support me if I had an entrepreneurial streak. As a young girl, I remember creating these decorative pieces that women would wear on from March 1st to March 8th. They're called martichor. It's a symbol of spring, and traditionally they were made out of metal, shaped into different flowers or different symbols of spring. And I started making my own using seeds, using pressed flowers, and packaging them and selling them at my mom's workplace and in the neighborhood. So I was entrepreneurial at an early age, but I don't look all the way back to those times when I speak of my beginnings as an artist. I studied business and administration. I then in the US I had an opportunity to pursue a master's degree, and I was at a crossroads. I had either the choice I had given myself, either the choice of going to project management or interior design. And though I was very much attracted to interiors and design and homes and beautiful things, again, I was constantly looking at statistics, at the prospects for project managers in the next 5, 10 years. A very good point right now, or moment in time now, to tell anyone listening that one shall follow what they're good at and shall follow what they enjoy doing, because in that way they can apply themselves 100% and more and 100% of the time, and they're constantly curious to learn, to evolve, to make progress. Because I was, and I can admit to this now, at best a mediocre project manager, in spite of getting the education. And it was just my heart was not there.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's so true that when you do something you love and enjoy, then you're definitely going to put your 100%. So thank you. So you do fluid acrylic as your art. What drew you to that as your medium of choice?
Very interesting question. And I often pause to think about what is it exactly in the style of painting that drew me in. And every time I stop and think, I uncover another layer of meaning behind this choice. It was more intuitive in the beginning. It was something that attracted me. I spent, before starting to paint with fluid acrylics, I spent hundreds of hours watching other people working in this style and seeing different techniques and seeing different ways of mixing the paints. And then at some point, I decided to start. And it's mesmerizing to watch because it evolves really quickly. It happens really quickly before you. And you have to, once you've committed to start, you commit to finishing. At least that's how I approach this. You
Hmm.
can't take a break and go out for lunch or go for a jog or do something else. You've committed to make a painting. You're going to be there and make your painting. There are many layers of why this works for me. And one of them is I am able to maintain consistency of thought throughout a painting. So whatever mood I'm in is reflected in how I'm approaching and how I'm continuing with the painting. And you will see if you look at the website, the titles of my paintings are not necessarily, or they're not obvious. Like I'm showing you, this is a greeting card of a painting that, by the way, can be installed
Beautiful.
either way. But it's
Yeah.
called Love is in the Air. It
Wow.
just felt like I was looking at an April sky very turbulent, all of these blues, and then all sorts of trees and flowers blooming. And I'm looking down through them towards the sky. And I felt like, oh, this has got to be all of the love and it's got to be all in the air. So I could probably talk for hours about this and why this works for me.
So, what has been your longest time duration that you've been at one painting? Because you said you can't stop in between. So, what has been the longest time that you spent on a particular painting?
Yes. So, in the spirit of previous answers, I will not give you a one liner answer because one can be deceived by how easy it might be to create these paintings. I have just been able this year to achieve the largest ever painting so far, which is 5 feet by 8 feet. Just for
Wow.
reference, the painting behind me is 4 feet by 5 feet. So we're
Wow.
talking double size. And all of the work happens horizontally. I have to prepare all of the paints ahead of time. I can't, stop and prepare mixed paints because nothing comes. I don't buy anything off the shelf and immediately use it. I take the paints in a tube or in a jar and I mix them with a pouring medium and with some water, and then I apply them to the canvas. And we are talking for a 5 foot by 8 foot painting, close to 3 gallons of paint. So when we're talking that, you need to have the space, you need to have the tools, everything needs to be prepared and ready. And more has to be prepared because I work intuitively, which means I am going to make a lot of choices as I'm working. So I may decide that I will work with a blue background, but I will decide if I want to add additional colors as I'm doing it. Well, I can't stop and mix, I have to have them. So it's a process type painting. There's a lot of planning that's involved before you start. Then it's letting go, enjoying the possibilities, accepting what happens, and going with the flow of paint while you're doing it. And then there's 2 to 4 days, a period of time at which the painting is at risk for things to fall on the wet paint of I don't know, somebody bringing their dog through the studio. That has not happened. I do mark my space pretty generously with warning signs if one should touch.
Oh,
So it's at risk. The continuous time, the longest continuous time I have worked on a painting was on this largest painting ever, the 5 foot by 8 foot. And I had to work for close to 6 hours on it. If you can imagine, the position I'm in is the large canvas is on on paint cans, on supports off the floor. I can't work on a table because it's too high. I can't reach across the whole length or width of the canvas. And I have special ordered this canvas after measuring and verifying that I am able to sustain movements across the canvas for hours as I'm painting, as I'm using different tools, because it's not just simply reaching across and figuring out what's your arm length, how far can you go, how far can you go while working. There are
wow.
many components. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna go make a painting now. It's not just that. It's all beautiful and it's amazing to be able to work towards it in this way. But there's yoga training, there's resistance training, there's weight training involved and necessary. So it took me years really to believe that I'm capable of doing and of creating such big pieces.
Amazing. I had no idea that there was so much detail in the work. I mean, your work is beautiful, but thank you for explaining the process. I'm sure people will appreciate your paintings even more when they know the backstory of how it's done. So, how would you explain or describe your artistic style to someone who hasn't seen your work?
I'm a visual person. It's very difficult. And I was put in this situation recently where at a round table, I had to just explain to people I couldn't pass the phone, I couldn't pass, and I didn't have the presence like now to have a greeting card in hand. I describe my work as abstract, floral, inspired. And I describe it as speaking to possibilities and connections because I find that this is the common thread that I find in absolutely every single piece I've created, whether I was conscious that it's part of this floral fusion collection that I'm working on, or it was part of the beach collection that was obviously not floral inspired, but that was nature inspired. But it always observed an interest in possibilities, acceptance, and connection.
Lovely. So, how do you know when a piece is finished?
During the painting process, I often film myself painting. I do time lapses and I set up a camera. Especially with the large pieces, it's important to stop for a moment and look at the image because once you're literally on top of your painting, it's hard to maintain perspective of the whole piece. You're so involved with the immediate area that you can observe that it's difficult to maintain perspective. And that's another layer of difficulty when it comes to a 5 foot by 8 foot piece. I mean, I'm 5'5" tall, and my arm span is about 5 feet, right? So that's it. And when you look at something looking down from standing up, there's only so much you can catch. So I take progress pictures and I look at the pictures, and the pictures inform a lot on the composition and what might be missing or if it's ready. And it's really guided by intuition. It's happened that I looked at my progress pictures and I thought, oh, that would have been a good time to stop. But then I accept. I accept because it came out of me in that moment and I own it. I own it entirely.
This is so just interesting to learn the process and how you do it. And given that you have this, lengthy process and all these difficulties, and also the whole idea of letting go, which is so hard for human beings, basically. How has all this process in your paintings helped you evolve as a person?
If you had asked me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have known how to answer this. It has helped a lot. It has helped a lot because I never defined myself as a patient person. I'm always on the go, always, the calendar is always booked, maybe overbooked, and I don't believe in standing still. And I'm not hyper at the other extreme, but I feel like, things need to happen and I need to make them happen.
Hmm.
So it went through my head with painting. It has been tested. I've tested speeding up the drying process of a painting. I've tested a number of things that would make it just more efficient, and it does not work. It does not work because using a fan to dry the painting created cracks in the paint because you need to learn, and I had to learn that I need to respect my work, the materials I'm working with, and to understand that time has its incredible value in art and in life. You can't learn something in a day, even if you're pouring the knowledge, you're listening to books constantly for 24 hours. The knowledge doesn't reach you because you need time to let it sink in. You need the experiences around you to teach you that whatever it is you're learning is applicable, and to filter it through your own body and through your own understanding of the world. So it's taught me a lot about patience, and it's taught me a lot about forging a process and a routine and building. brick by brick to create the wall, that things cannot be done right away, and that just constantly throughout life you learn and you make progress and let go of perfection. That was another key understanding with this type of work, that I can't replicate any of my work, and I am psyched about it. I am there are so many possibilities, there are so many things to explore. I'm not even interested in replicating any of it, but it's close to impossible, because even if you used the exact same amount of paint and you placed it in the exact same spot, which in itself is ridiculous and impossible. Using the tools, all of the tool, using a hair dryer to push the paint, you have to maintain a particular angle. You have to be this close or further away. You obtain different results. So there are so many variables that it makes it easy even to let go, because you had mentioned the letting go, and that's what taught me the letting go. That the more I try to micromanage what the result would be, the further away from the that result I'm getting, because putting pressure on executing something specific just takes away the creativity. And this is what I absolutely enjoy with my style of painting, that nothing is scripted. I don't have any sketches. And yes, there's a lot that's controlled, because I'm working with this floral fusion collection, so I'm creating flowers, right? Or
That's
floral
beautiful.
inspired shapes. I just learned yesterday of a flower. Someone looked at this card and said, "Oh, this is such and such orchid variety that I was not even aware of." And I don't remember the
Lovely.
name of it, but wonderful. So it's just going with the flow of paint and color.
That's lovely. And I love those cards. It's so beautiful. And
Thank
it's
you.
so delicate. And it's such a beautiful representation of you. So, has there ever been a point in time where one of your paintings, you were rushed, or you rushed it, or you were upset about it, or you lost your patience? And how did you overcome that, if there was a point that something like that happened?
Oh, of course, absolutely. All of these things have happened and more. So I'll tell you, I don't even know which story to tell you. So let me tell you the story about when I decided, okay, I will teach workshops and I will teach others my style of painting, because I find it so peaceful and calming and just unscripted, right? So I micromanaged absolutely every detail about the setting of the space, where I'm putting everything so that the participants would have paints handy, canvas handy, everything's there. And the workshop went amazing. It was fantastic. And they left and they had to leave the paintings to dry. And we were all doing everything in the sunroom, which had turned into a gallery for me and workshop space. So I was doing it in the home. And they left, and I micromanaged how I arranged the paintings to dry on this box, storage box covered with a plastic sheet. And I was just, oh, that's it. It's amazing. Great. And the next morning, between me and my husband, we forgot about the cat. Can you see where this is going?
Yes.
So we walked into the room. The room has dark green carpet, that industrial carpet. And
Wow.
there are footprints, cat footprints on the carpet with paint on the carpet, on the windowsill. And it turns out that the cat stepped into the painting that I had done to demonstrate, and in one of the participants' paintings.
Wow.
As fortune has it, all of our paintings were abstract, and unless you really knew where to look, you didn't know that there's a footprint of a cat, because the it was wet enough where the cat was able to just lift the paint and just create a new form. I know. So you can imagine I was livid, because my workshop is not exactly it's not a $30 workshop. And I thought, okay, so what am I going to do now? I took a picture. I circled the spot in the picture. I sent it to the young woman that had taken the class, and I said, "This is what happened. A cat got your painting." And she thought it was hilarious. Well, I didn't use those words, but she thought it was hilarious. That was an amazing story and loved it. Loved it. So that's the one story where something didn't go as expected. And it doesn't happen often to me that I feel so strongly about a painting that I need to do something about it because I've learned this acceptance. But it did happen twice now that I made a painting and it's really large and I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. And I let it dry because I usually just let things dry and I let the dust settle. I'll walk away from it for a while and keep coming back and looking to see if anything has changed. Well, nothing had changed with this one painting. It was really one of my early works, but it was on a large canvas. And I decided to cover it because also I don't like the concept of waste. One might look at my style of work and would say, "Oh, well, but you're pouring paint." I'm not exactly wasting it, and I don't look at it as wasting it. However, the canvas, this large canvas, I just didn't want to throw in the garbage. So I gessoed it. That is, I put primer on it, several layers of primer, and I painted over it. And some of the texture from the previous painting stayed. And this is really interesting because my work is just not textured in general because it's a single layer of paint that dries and it just, it's almost smooth to the touch. But this painting had been textured because I worked with different viscosity paints. Anyways, and I titled it Reality Over Memories because some of it was still coming through. And at first, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I took it to a festival and I had this woman, amazing woman, who ended up becoming my collector, absolutely loved it. And she
Oh,
loved my work in general, but this in particular, she absolutely loved because it was the only one textured. And she really loved texture. And so it ended up in her home.
lovely.
Reality over memories. Yes.
So, how do you come up with the names for your paintings? Because you're in it and you don't really have a name or a plan, but then after your painting, you name your paintings, right? So, how do you come up with it?
I don't get asked that a lot. So I don't name them obvious things. So very few exceptions. There's one that's called black poppies because and it is black poppies, which exist by the way. It's because it's about a feeling that I have as I'm looking at the paintings that informs the title. It's about how it makes me feel or how I'm thinking it might make someone else looking at it feel. And it has a lot to do with color symbolism. I'm very interested and passionate about learning and knowing color symbolism. What are the different colors and how do the different colors combined have the capability of either influencing a mood or a state of mind and changing it? Like this painting I did title Love is in the Air, which has nothing to do with color symbolism, actually. Um,
Hmm.
and oh my, all of the examples I have here, this is Autumn Dance, but
Oh, that's beautiful.
it's because I felt like I'm dancing. There's a big connection actually to movement and to dance and to music in how I title my paintings. It's just feel like all of these art forms are I can feel them as I'm painting or as I'm looking at my paintings. I love to dance, I love music, I love watching performances, I love opera. So I feel like they're all out of me and onto the canvas and I celebrate all of them.
It's beautiful. I love all the work that you just showed us. So, how has your artistic approach evolved over time?
So in the beginning of my painting, really, or I was interested in painting before I settled on this is the style of painting that works for me, the working with fluid acrylics on canvas. And this is all I do. Only fluid acrylics, only on canvas. In my beginning, in my early days, I took classes with a painter and I learned more of a traditional style painting with acrylics. Uh, Rather, I tried to learn because I wasn't ready. I wasn't getting that I need to use paint. I had a very frugal mindset. It was it, I was always concerned with how much paint I might be putting, how much things might cost, to now ironically be at the complete opposite end. The painter kept telling me, if you want to make a painting, you got to use paint. And I know, right? You think I graduated, I got a master's degree, and I can understand these simple words. If you want to make a painting, you got to use paint. Well, it took a minute for that to settle in. So I think that I've evolved a lot, and I evolved a lot very quickly once I understood some simple concepts, and some simple concepts that would help me grow quickly. And if you want to even make up for all of the time where when I learned and did other things than art, and that was that I need to do everything I'm doing in the spirit of the pursuit of excellence, using the best possible materials, the best possible surfaces, and the best of everything that I know in the moment, and continuously strive to learn more and get it better and better and better. To now I work on custom built canvases. There's a professional shop that works for museums and really famous artists in Brooklyn, New York, that builds to my specifications the canvases. And I work with the highest grade acrylic paints. I own a van, I deliver, I install, I do art consultations in home or in businesses. So I have created all of the logistics to the highest standard that I'm capable of at the moment. So
Wow.
that's what I've learned
Awesome.
and
I
how
was
I've
going to ask you that question, but you covered part of it. I'll still go ahead and ask you. So, how do you handle the logistics of your shipping and installing large pieces?
I primarily sell my artworks at fine art festivals, which are juried events. What does this mean? 500 to 700 artists would apply to go in and display their work, and maybe 100 to 150 would get accepted. So they're highly competitive events, and they have rigorous requirements of presentation. So I've purchased complete setups for presenting a 10 by 10 or 10 by 20 booth at festivals that's completely waterproof and professional. And these can be used indoor and outdoor, where I present my work. And going to these festivals means that the population that visits or that comes to the festivals also is aware of the fact that they come to pre-vetted artists. So they're already educated in art, and they're educated in the fact that they can have full confidence of purchasing art from the artists that show there. So this is very helpful to me because then and there's a high incidence of people really buying large works on the spot. So I having the van is a huge advantage that I can deliver, because nobody comes to a festival ready to pick up a 6 foot by 4 foot painting and taking it in their van or in their car home. So that's hugely helpful. Another thing that I do, and that's very helpful to my collectors, is I do virtual staging. And that means that a lot of people come to me really at festivals, and they might have moved into a new home and they might have remodeled their home. And the problem that I seem to be able to resolve quickly for them is allow or give them the opportunity to see or to visualize the art before it's in their home. So by giving me a picture of the wall that they're trying to work with or of the room, I'm able to curate and show to scale the paintings that I'm proposing. So that's tremendously helpful. And then I, of course, once someone's really close but not decided yet, I do home visits and office visits so that once people see in person the work, then they can make a 100% great decision.
That's amazing. That's so detailed, and I'm not surprised. Knowing you, I am not surprised that it's so detailed and you've thought of everything. So, what's your vision for Princeton's art community?
I love the question. Thank you for this question. As you know, my studio is in the Princeton Shopping Center on Harrison Street, and I'm an artist member of Princeton Makes, which is an artist cooperative there in the shopping center. And we are a group that is so diverse in so many ways, starting with medium, starting with countries of origin, and going to, interest in pursuing art. And it's a very welcoming space that brings together people from the local community and even further away around events that we organize. We organize poetry readings, artist talks, a variety of music events. We are actually preparing for our Art at Night party where artists will be demonstrating or giving the public, some of us, the opportunity to actually get involved in creating something. We my vision, I always love to create opportunities. I love to create opportunities for myself and for others. And I've curated shows, art shows in the basement of the space where we also host workshops. But this will be the third year in a row that I am organizing together with Princeton Makes the Art in the Courtyard Festival. That's our fall festival that happens on the green in the courtyard of the shopping center. So we take over that whole space and we bring very talented artists. And I'm using the same model I see with the fine art juried shows that I go to. It's a juried show, artists apply, and it's about bringing to the Princeton community talented artists and people who creators. We're all over the Amazon and the mass produced art in China and prints and things. So this is what we bring to the community. And I think it enriches everyone looking at the art, buying the art, getting involved with learning, taking the workshops, taking the classes, or just participating in the community events.
I look forward to all those events. So, what advice would you give to artists looking to engage more with their communities?
Sign up for our mailing list and come to the events. Come to the events, meet the artists, come to the shopping center when the co-op is open, which is Thursday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and meet the artists. There's always somebody working in the studio, and there's always somebody ready to answer questions or give you a tour.
So now going through all these experiences as an immigrant woman and, going through these little details in your life and all the challenges and the opportunities that you've had, what advice would you give other immigrant women entrepreneurs who are thinking about stepping into art, or other immigrant women entrepreneurs who are already in the space of art trying to build their business, to take it forward?
Um, that's a complex question, very, very layered. I'm almost thinking it's many questions, and um, so to women and anyone interested, passionate about art, I would go to an advice that I got and I didn't understand. And I didn't understand when I first got it, but I so understand it now. And I didn't understand it because it's difficult to think ahead and to really dig inside yourself. So the advice was to find your voice. And finding your voice is something that I did through action, trying different things. There's no framework that works for everybody. It took me a long time to understand what are those few things that I'm very good at that I should continue to build on and expand my understanding and knowledge of so that I can focus my energy there. We're all limited resources. We can't do it all. I'm a mom, I have two little children. I'm a wife, we have a home. There are many things that, as you know, Anisha, we all wear the many hats of life. And pursuing a business, you have to be just so focused on selecting. It's it's almost an exercise in eliminating things and learning to say no and what to say no to. But the most important thing is if you have an idea, act on it, do it. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you so much for that advice. So, if somebody wants to purchase your art or get in touch with you or learn more about your artwork, what would be the best way to connect with you?
All of my contact information is on my website, which is adrianagroza.art. And I do have an Instagram page, which is Adriana Groza Art, all in one word. And I have a Facebook page. I am present on LinkedIn. A simple Google of my name will help you get in touch with me. Most of my paintings are listed on the website. A lot of them are in my studio. Some of them haven't made it to the website yet. So feel free to reach out. I'll help the best I can so you can make an amazing decision.
So, tell us about your next steps and your upcoming events.
Oh, fantastic. So many exciting projects on the horizon. My latest one is a collaboration with another Princeton Mercer Chamber of Commerce member, Antonia James. She's the owner of Case Events, Decorations, and Rentals. And she has recently launched the Bloom Bar at her new location on Coosa Road, and the place is gorgeous. And we will have a joint workshop that's all about flowers. It's called the Full Bloom Experience. And participants would be able to come in a beautifully curated space, enjoy a glass of bubbly and refreshments, and make their own floral arrangement with natural flowers under the guidance of Antonia James, and make an original painting with me, with materials and all tools and paints prepared and ready, plus have an opportunity to join a community of like-minded individuals and have a great time.
Amazing. So, what are the details of this event? When is the event? How do people come to it?
People can find details about this event on my website under the workshops page. And the event is called the Full Bloom Experience. Right now, we have three upcoming dates, one in April and two in May. However, we are opening this up for custom events, so private events. If anyone is interested in bringing together 4 to 12 people, then we can arrange a private event.
Amazing.
Yes. And the other event I wanted to talk about, they might, well, they're not necessarily for the local community, but I am headed to Virginia, to Alexandria and Arlington at the end of the month and beginning of next month for my very first festivals. So that's a very exciting time for me.
Congratulations and all the very best for these events. I can't wait to have you come back on our show and talk more about these events and give us feedback on how all these events went. Thank you so much for your time and for being here today and sharing all your knowledge and experiences.
Thank you so much, Anisha.
As we conclude our conversation with Adriana, remember that art isn't just about what we create, it's about the connections we foster. If you're looking to showcase your creative work through a website that captures your unique vision, I'd love to help bring that to life through custom Squarespace or website designs. This is Anisha Jennings reminding you that sometimes our greatest masterpieces are the communities we build. Until next time.